Hey guys, Ashley here, also known as the H Plan. I'm back with another video. I'm not making a Godfather type video. That would be like in the following week, probably next week, because I have some off days coming up. So maybe I'll do it next week. I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like a big nerd, but I probably won't be doing anything this weekend because WrestleMania is coming on, and am going to watch it. Even though I don't watch the show, I don't watch Raw and SmackDown unless when Reigns and The Rock is on. But I am gonna watch WrestleMania. That way I can have an opinion because I might upload a video about it. Like I said, I hate to sound like a big nerd, but I am gonna watch WrestleMania, so I probably won't make any Godfather content this weekend. Even though I need to talk about why I like Marco Leone and why I really love Godfather 2. But today I'm talking about something a little bit different. It does concern Al Pacino. I'm going to be talking about the Panic in Needle Park and why I personally feel like him and Helen were very toxic. Bobby and Helen, why they were very toxic. I remember when I first watched the movie, I didn't think they were toxic. I still think that Al Pacino and I think Kitty Winn, I think that's her name. I could be wrong. I do think they did have great chemistry. I think the chemistry really sold it for me because you have these two people who are all around just great people. Like they have great energy. You know, they really don't have any other bad intentions besides getting their hands on drugs. And like I just feel like deep down they are good people, but due to the environment, they were led down really bad activities. And like I said, I just didn't think they were toxic at first. I just thought that they were cute, but I just feel like them being on drugs made it really hard for them to sustain a relationship. And when I watched the movie back a couple days ago, I watched it like 3 times. Hope I'm gonna watch it again tonight. I just realized the relationship is like not really toxic, but it is toxic. It does have really elements of codependency and not really knowing who they are without each other, and there was some very mental abuse with the drugs and some physical abuse because Bobby did hit her, and even Bobby even like basically like telling her, I need you to like sell yourself, I need you to sleep with men to get us our money. Like he pretty much turned her to prostitution. And I just felt like the elements there, like even though like the chemistry between them is really strong, I can't root for this relationship because of just the toxic element. And I think a lot of that really comes from Bobby because before we meet Bobby and before we see them get together, Helen really seemed more happier before she met him. She was a painter. She was dating her boyfriend. He traveled a lot because of his art. And what we do see is that Helen, she did have an abortion. She did have an abortion. Her boyfriend Marco said he was not ready to be a father, and they just both agreed to have her get rid of the baby. But he was not there for her when she went through the seizure. I mean, I said seizure. Sorry, when she went through the steps of getting that done, he wasn't really there for her. And we first meet Bobby when he comes there, and he's selling her boyfriend some drugs. And so that's kind of how she meets Bobby. And I never considered this at first, but I think her going through the abortion probably is what also led her down her depression path, because I realized that some women who actually do get it, they feel a different way. And I do think Helen has some feelings, some very closed off detachment feelings about that she didn't get a chance to react to. And I feel like she used drugs as a way to cover up the pain that she did with getting the abortion. Maybe she didn't want to get it. Maybe she just did it because that's what Marco wanted. But yeah, I think as soon as she met Bobby, he seemed like he was just, he's fun, he's full of spirit, he's full of excitement. You don't think there's nothing wrong with him. You don't think he can be a bad guy, like, at all. He's just full of excitement. He has all these friends. But as soon as Helen sees him shooting up, she doesn't. The only thing she says is that You're gonna kill yourself doing that. And he says he's not addicted. He's just trying it. Honestly, I feel like once Helen saw that, that should have been her first indication to run. Honestly, when she saw him shooting up the heron the first time, that should have been her first indication to get out. But she really had nowhere to go. She was homeless, and that's when the codependency comes, because she really depended on Bobby for a place to live, for money, for food. He provided all of that because of what he was doing. And I think Bobby is also suffering from some abandonment issues, because he tells her, why do you leave all the time? And she says she doesn't. And he was basically like telling her, like, I can't handle if you leave me. Even though they just met, it's like, you just met her. What do you mean you can't handle if she leaves? And she says she won't leave him. I just think like, wow, they're falling for each other extremely fast. And it's like, wow, you don't even know him, and you're basically telling him that you're going to not leave him no matter what. I just felt like, wow, he's probably suffering from some abandonment issues with maybe his parents or something like that. They don't really go in about their backstories in this movie, which I'm completely okay with. Like I said when I first talked about it, I wish this movie had a sequel, because this movie was just really good. Like, even on a side note, like the cinematography, the gritty shots of New York, and like how the drugs of heroin is used, it just seems very real. Like, this didn't even seem like it was a movie. It seems very real, like a documentary. There's no music. It's just really, it's all dialogue, which I even love even more, because I don't need the music distracting me. Not saying that soundtracks are bad, but this movie is just really all dialogue and character development, and which is just really good. So they get evicted. Bobby gets kicked out of his apartment, and he tells Helen, hey, I think you should leave. And she's like, I'm not going anywhere. So then he tells her, I need you to do me a favor. And she says, what? He's like, I need you to go take care of this business with this guy. But he only gave her $11 for the drugs. So he knew that it was going to be more to that. So he basically told her, I need you to sleep with him. And she said, okay. And so she started sleeping with him. She tried to sleep with him, but they got caught by the police when they figured out that he was trying to sling drugs, the guy. So, yeah, that's pretty much what the relationship is really about. Codependency, abandonment issues, the dependency on drugs, and it's just mental abuse and physical abuse. Not them, like, they don't mentally, I'm not talking about they mentally abuse each other. I feel like what I mean by mentally is that the drugs is really making them mentally abuse themselves, is what I really mean. But I think Bobby really plays a part on Helen, because I think she felt like she had to take the drugs to be closer to him. Because he took her to that motel, and everybody was just like shooting up in that motel, and I thought that scene was really great directed, like how the way it was like just a close-up shot of pretty much the process of injecting yourself with the heroin and how you do it. But like I said, I think Bobby plays a really big part on Helen's downfall, but they both play a part on each other's downfall, because they just shouldn't be together. They shouldn't be together. The importance of drugs and the codependency and their abandonment issues, and they don't know a life outside of drugs. And like I said before, Helen met Bobby, she just seemed like she was happier then. Like, she had her art. Carlo might have been a jerk. Marco, sorry, he might have been a jerk, but he was nothing like Bobby. He wasn't doing drugs or any of that. He didn't have crackhead friends. Like, Bobby had crackhead friends. Her last boyfriend didn't have her get into prostitution to make money, to make ends meet. Bobby had her do all of that, and I just feel like it's toxic. Like, I honestly think it was just a toxic. And the biggest reason I want to talk about this is because people are allowed to have their opinions on whatever relationships. I mean, for God's sakes, people still ship Damon and Elena, knowing all the shit Damon has done to Elena and people that she cares about. But I just feel like sometimes there are certain relationships that need to be called out. And I just see a lot of people are shipping them on Tumblr and on TikTok and things like that. I just feel like were we all watching the same movie? Like I said, and I will say it again, I do think the chemistry was very magnetic, and they kind of needed to have the chemistry to make you care about the relationship. Like, I wanted them to get better, but it seemed like the more they were together, the more it got worse. And it's like, okay, I think they need to get away from each other because this relationship is just getting more toxic and it's getting more dark. Like they're sleeping in crack houses. They got no place to live. She's sleeping with his brother to make money. Like it's just it's crazy. It's crazy what her and Bobby's relationship became. And I just feel like when she sold him out, she should have never went. She should have never went to the prison to go meet him. That just shows that she really is really dependent on him, and it's not good. It's really not good. But that's just my thoughts on Helen and Bobby. Why I think they're toxic. It's not much. Are they the most toxic couple I've seen? No, but they're one of that I have seen. This is a movie couple, like I said. But when I first watched the movie, I did not think they were toxic. I thought they were cute. But going back and watching it a few times, they are very toxic because of their environment and the things that Bobby pushed onto Helen that made her become a drug addict and made her even become more depressed. And like I said before, you wouldn't think he would be a bad guy because it was nothing wrong with him at first. You didn't see nothing wrong with him until we all saw him start doing the drugs, and I just feel like that should have been Ella's indication to just go. But she didn't want to leave him because, like I said, she kind of like made him a promise that she wouldn't go anywhere. And I think Bobby was really, and another thing too, he said he would marry her. He would marry her and take her to the countryside. And I think Helen was really sold on that. Like she really wanted to marry him and go to the country. And I think Bobby really loved her and everything too. But their bad habits, it made it really hard. And kind of like the dude said, he said this is a kind of a habit that Bobby does with his girlfriends when he's on his little drug path. He pimps them out and things like that. So yeah, like I said, people are allowed to ship who they want to. I'm just saying that it's just certain things you can't ignore, and they're very toxic. So that's just my thoughts on why they were toxic. I hope you guys feel like I actually got to my points. I wasn't just rambling. I feel like I got to my points. Like I said, it wasn't like the worst couple. Like I'm not raging about how toxic they are, but they were toxic. And I still love this movie though. Like I said, I think the chemistry between the two actors, the two leads were great. Al Pacino definitely stole the screen with his acting. He was great as Bobby. And like I said before, this was his first leading role film. Godfather was not his first leading role film. It was his second. The Panic in the Park was his first leading role film. Still, watch this movie if you haven't. I definitely recommend it for an Al Pacino movie. It's an underrated Al Pacino film. And this has been my thoughts on Bobby and Helen's relationship.